I am Professor Augustine A Thomas. This talk on Shakespeare's drama Antony and Cleopatra is the fifth in a series of talks on Shakespearean tragedy. The presentations of King Lear, Othello, Hamlet, and Macbeth have already been done. These lectures are delivered for Saphalam 55 plus Pala, and I am heartened to note that its listeners have taken them in good spirit. It is true that I have infused a studied slowness in these presentations. This is because I am catering mostly to uninitiated listeners, for whom this much space is necessary to get the stuff digested. Now, let us come to Antony and Cleopatra. Of all Shakespeare's dramas, Romeo and Juliet and Antony and Cleopatra stand apart, forming a distinct class by themselves. Both are love tragedies in which the hero and heroine have an almost equal status and importance. Three of Shakespeare's dramas are known as Roman plays. They are Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Antony and Cleopatra, written probably in the year 1607. Antony and Cleopatra provides a very wide canvas. It covers 3 continents, namely Europe, Africa, and Asia. This is a play where the East and the West meet together. The East, with all its mysteries, represented by Cleopatra, and the West, with all its glories, represented by Mark Antony. You may recall the famous statement that if Cleopatra's nose had been shorter in size, the history of the world would have been another one. In fact, this beauty queen's nose might have been so attractive that titans like Pompey, Julius Caesar, and Mark Antony fell headlong in love with her. Antony and Cleopatra blends the elements of passionate love and high militancy in an equal measure. Its hero, Marcus Antonius, is a character who has cast a spell over the readers beyond space and time. Many of us have high memories of Mark Antony's speech as given in the drama Julius Caesar. This speech had become a big political spectacle. Apart from being a funeral oration over the assassination of the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar by the highly patriotic Brutus, this speech has been treated by generations to expose and show to the world how a cunning and intelligent politician can manipulate the sentiments of the all too good ordinary people, or what are called masses, who are nothing short of asses. Julius Caesar's successor to the throne was his adopted son Octavius Caesar, who is also known in history as Augustus Caesar. We know more of Augustus Caesar because infant Jesus was born at Bethlehem when he was the Roman emperor. The story of Antony and Cleopatra is laid in the 1st century AD, when the Roman Empire, though at the zenith of its glory, had started showing signs of decadence, downfall, and internal rift. Besides his variety, Shakespeare's capital gift was certainly his vivid characterization skill, both historical and imaginary. Rosalind, Celia, Viola, Portia, Juliet, Cleopatra, Caesar, Brutus, Orlando, Shylock, Falstaff, Touchstone, not to mention the great tragic heroes. Indeed, the catalogue is long. One major attraction of Shakespearean drama is its epic range and cosmic sweep. He keeps this breath when he leaves London for Rome and Holinshire for Plutarch. The critic William Hazlitt summarizes it beautifully when he says thus: the characteristic of Chaucer is intensity, of Spenser is remoteness, of Milton is devotion, and of Shakespeare is everything. Magnificence may seem to be the keynote of the play Antony and Cleopatra. Cleopatra, the beauty queen of Egypt, holds an especial charm over the reader. One may recall the excellence of the drama Dr. Faustus, written by Shakespeare's great contemporary Christopher Marlowe. Dr. Faustus was known all over the world as the greatest scholar of his time. In his infinite thirst for knowledge, he entered into a contract with the chief of hell that he shall enjoy a long period on earth, learning and experiencing anything that he desired. And when the period of the contract is over, he will have to go to hell and become part of that devilish kingdom. The chief of hell deputed his most capable assistant, Mephistopheles, to come to earth and be with Faustus as his secretary in order to materialize whatever he requested for. Time passed. The period of the contract is coming to a close. Dr. Faustus has almost started experiencing tremors and commotions inside because he has to go to hell and there is no other choice. Still, he had one desire left. That was to see before his eyes Helen of Troy in the prime of her youth. This Helen of Troy too was a beauty queen. This Trojan lady was unexpectedly stolen from Ilium, which bore another name as Troy, and taken to Greece. Over this issue, a war was fought between Troy and Greece. It went on for 10 years. The Trojan purpose was to rescue Helen. This wonderful story is narrated by Homer in his world classic Iliad. Mephistopheles complied with the request of Dr. Faustus, and this paragon of beauty, Helen, was brought in body form in all her radiant splendor before him. The moment Dr. Faustus saw this universal beauty, he got dazzled and exclaimed thus, "Was this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless towers of Ilium? Sweet Helen, make me immortal with a kiss." Similarly, Antony is a great Roman general who too fell headlong before the exquisite Cleopatra. The drama opens at Alexandria. Cleopatra's palace is seen. Antony's followers are seen discussing about what is happening to their master these days. They are all sure that Mark Antony, the triple pillar of the world, is recently transformed into a strumpet's fool. By strumpet, they mean Cleopatra, whom they treat as a prostitute. At this point, Antony and Cleopatra are seen entering in full flourish. The eunuchs are fanning their queen. They are engaged in a conversation. Cleopatra raises a suspicion. If her lover, Antony, is not planning to go back to Rome, mainly because Octavius Caesar has asked him to reach back, and also because his legitimate wife Fulvia is left alone there. To this, Antony replies thus, "Let Rome in Tiber melt, and the wide arch of the ranged empire fall. Here is my space. Kingdoms are clay. We stand up peerless." Cleopatra takes this statement as excellent falsehood only. Antony is such a vehement pleasure lover that he tells her that there is not a minute of their lives to be wasted without some entertainment and sport. He also expressly admires every aspect of Cleopatra's character and her impassioned ways. Let us recall the famous summarization made by Enobarbus, the follower of Antony, about Cleopatra. It is thus: "Age cannot wither her beauty, nor custom stale her infinite variety." In Act 1, Scene 2, we see Enobarbus conversing with Cleopatra's attendants like Charmian, Eros, Alexas, and Mardian the eunuch, and also a soothsayer. Antony has already taken a strong decision to break off these Egyptian fetters, for otherwise he is sure that he will lose himself in dotage, that is, in amorous lovemaking. At this point, a messenger enters with a letter from Rome. It was news that Antony's wife, Fulvia, is dead. Antony feels no regrets. Really, it is a thing which he had desired only. Then follows a noteworthy dialogue between Antony and Enobarbus. It is given here as such. Antony, I must from this enchanting queen break off. She is cunning past man's thought. Enobarbus, Allah, sir, no. Her passions are made of nothing but the finest part of pure love. We cannot call her winds and waters, sighs and tears. They are greater storms and tempests than almanacs can report. Antony, would I had never seen her. Enobarbus, oh sir, you had then left unseen a wonderful piece of work, which not to have been blessed withal would have discredited your travel. In Act 1, Scene 3, we see a very different Cleopatra lovesick for Antony, feeling that if Antony goes back to Rome, life will be meaningless for her. Cleopatra is never a miser in expressing her inmost emotions, whether they are positive or negative. She tells that she is sick and sad, and also that never was their queen so mightily betrayed. To Antony she speaks thus: eternity was in our lips and eyes, bliss in our brows bent. They are so still, or thou, the greatest soldier of the world, art turned the greatest liar. Thereon, Antony promises that he goes from there only as Cleopatra's soldier and servant. He has to go because the purpose is urgent. To this, Cleopatra replies thus: courteous lord, one word. Sir, you and I must part. But that is not it. Sir, you and I have loved. But there is not it. That you know well, something it is I would. Oh, my oblivion is a very Antony, and I am all forgotten. We know at that time the mighty Roman Empire was ruled by the triumvirs. Hence the government of Rome was called the triumvirate. That is, 3 rulers sharing the governance equally. The triumvirs were Mark Antony, Octavius Caesar, and Lepidus. Pompey was a Roman who became a rebel. Presently, Pompey is in Sicily, Sicily, and with ferocious forces he is challenging Rome for a maritime war. Caesar and Lepidus wish that Antony be with them. Moreover, Antony had a previous record of having fought wars, passing through the hardest of unfavorable situations, and he had proved that his stamina was unbeatable. Antony goes back to Rome, and Cleopatra is gripped by nostalgic memories. Now that her man of men is far away, she wonders how she will sleep out this great gap of time. She asks her maid Charmian to give her the sleep-inducing drug mandragora to drink. Thereafter, we come across an immensely touching conversation between Cleopatra and Mardian the eunuch attending on her. As per human physiology, eunuchs are having no semen, and so they are taken to have no sexual interest. Follow their dialogue as such. Cleopatra, hast thou affections? Mardian, yes, gracious madam. Cleopatra, indeed. Mardian, not indeed, madam, for I can do nothing. But what indeed is honest to be done? Yet have I fierce affections, and think what Venus did with Mars. By affections, Mardian here means sentiments or sexual passions. In Act 2, Scene 1, we see the warlike Pompey proceeding to attack Rome with a big maritime force. There had been existing some differences of opinion between Octavius and Antony, and so Octavius had a doubt if Antony would come back as requested. Act 2, Scene 2 is a long one. Here we see the homecoming Antony meeting Caesar. Their differences are patched up. Caesar's follower Agrippa then suggests to Caesar that his sister Octavia be given in marriage to Antony in order to smoothen their relationships further. Caesar and Antony agree to it. Now Caesar speaks to Antony thus: "A sister I bequeath you, whom no brother did ever love so dearly. Let her live to join our kingdoms and our hearts, and never fly off our lives again." Thus, the triumph is Caesar, Antony, and Lepidus prepare themselves confidently against the approaching enemy forces. Now, Antony's followers like Maecenas, Agrippa, and Enobarbus indulge in a discussion about Antony's previous days in Egypt. Since Enobarbus was with Antony in Egypt also, they want to know more from him about Egypt and the river Nile and Cleopatra and so on and so forth. Enobarbus is a person with a philosophical bent of mind, gifted with a splendorous and poetical descriptive capability. The following are world famous lines which Enobarbus spoke thus. The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burned on the water. The poop was beaten gold, purple the sails, and so perfumed that the winds were lovesick with them. The oars were silver, which the tune of flutes kept stroke, and made the water which they bet to follow faster, as amorous of their strokes. For her own person, it beggared all description. She did lie in her pavilion, cloth of gold of tissue, over picturing that Venus, where we see the fancy outwork nature. On each side her stood pretty dimpled boys, like smiling cupids, with diverse colored fans, whose wind did seem to glow the delicate cheeks which they did cool, and what they undid did. Agrippa could understand that Cleopatra was such a royal wench that she made great Julius Caesar almost her slave. Now, Maecenas wonders whether Antony will leave her. The reply given to this by Enobarbus is a classic one. It is thus: never, he will not. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Other women cloy the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies. For vilest things become themselves in her, that the holy priest bless her when she is riggish. To state that even the holy priest will only bless her even when she is found immoral testifies to Cleopatra's irresistible charm. In Act 2, Scene 3, we see Antony and a soothsayer meeting. This soothsayer was previously in Egypt, and he is now in Rome. Antony asks him to tell whose fortunes shall rise higher, Caesar's or his. To this the soothsayer answers thus: Caesar's. Therefore, O Antony, stay not by his side, the daemon, that thy spirit which keeps thee is noble, courageous, high, unmatchable, where Caesar's is not, but near him thy angel becomes afeared, as being overpowered. Therefore make space enough between you, whatever it is. Antony declares his intention to go to Egypt, for his pleasure lies there in the east only. He is clear that his marriage with Octavia is only a matter of temporary political convenience and expediency. In the meantime, Cleopatra gets news that Antony is married to Octavia. She gets infuriated. She arranges for a person to go to Italy, collect Octavia's vital statistics, especially her height, and come back and report to her. War seems to be imminent. The forces led by Pompey on one side and those led by the combined leadership of Caesar, Lepidus, and Antony on the other side are almost face to face. However, some negotiations were also going on for a treaty to end the war. Eventually, Pompey agrees for a truce. He also invites them all to attend a party. This happens and they all meet on board a ship. They dine and carouse together. Standing outside, Enobarbus, who is on the Roman side, and Minos, who is on Pompey's side, enter into an interesting conversation which throws a lot of light on the major themes of this drama. Minos is of opinion that if it was for the present Pompey's father, the great Pompey, he would never have entered into this kind of a treaty. Enobarbus had proved himself to be an unmatchable fighter by land and Minos by sea. They discuss each one's distinctive areas of special skillfulness and leave no stone unturned in praising such capabilities. Enobarbus even declares that he will praise any man that will praise him. This is a unique feature found in the drama Antony and Cleopatra. Antony lavishes on Cleopatra his big appreciation for her, and she in turn uses the choicest words in speaking high of her lover. This aspect of distinguishing each one's positive attainments and pouring appreciation on them without any stinginess is in fact a great theory about excellence in what is called in modern jargon as personality development. And this is the one point where many of us, we moderns, are lacking miserably. We are so tight-lipped that we hesitate to speak even a single word by way of encouraging genuine talents. Let us applaud the Greco-Roman and Egyptian civilizations for having set a healthy model for generations to come in this area of mutual growth and promotion of talents. They also discuss about Antony and his political marriage to Octavia. Enobarbus states his opinion about Antony thus: he will to his Egyptian dish again. Then shall the sighs of Octavia blow the fire up in Caesar. And as I said before, that which is the strength of their amity shall prove the immediate author of their variance. Antony will use his affection where it is. He married, but his occasion here. Marriage without love. According to Enobarbus, that is what has occurred between Antony and Octavia. And it is a foregone conclusion that this will not last long. Act 2, Scene 7 is laid in Sicily. The party hosted by Pompey begins. It is all aboard a luxury boat. Everyone toasts for the health of others, and they drink and celebrate. The three triumvirs and their attendants all participate in the merrymaking. Antony gives a graphic description about the wonders he saw in Egypt, about the pyramids, about river Nile, its serpents, crocodiles, etc., etc. However, the truce arrived at between Pompey and the Roman side did not last long. After a while, they fell out. Caesar and Lepidus waged a war against Pompey. At the end of it, Pompey was killed. Immediately after this event, we see a twist happening. Octavius accused Lepidus of being not enough loyal, and upon this charge, Lepidus is arrested and put in prison. Antony is no more interested in the political affairs of Rome because his heart lies in Egypt. Thus, the triumvirate comes to an end, and Octavius Caesar emerges as the unquestioned sole emperor of the powerful Roman Empire. In the meantime, Octavia became sad and depressed because she was getting from Antony continual neglect only. She meets her brother and pours out the pressure in her heart. The outcome is that the marriage between Antony and Octavia failed and it got broken down. In Act 3, Scene 6, we see Caesar speaking to Agrippa and Maecenas about Antony thus: condemning Rome, he has done all this and more. In Alexandria, here is the manner of it. In the marketplace, on a tribunal silvered, Cleopatra and himself in chairs of gold were publicly enthroned. At the feet sat Caesarion, whom they call my father's son, and all the unlawful issue that their lust since then had made between them. Unto her he gave the establishment of Egypt, made her of Lower Syria, Cyprus, Lydia, absolute queen. To Antony will go countries like Media, Parthia, and Armenia. Now Octavius Caesar takes the historic decision to move with his forces urgently towards Egypt and wage war against Mark Antony. Antony, Cleopatra, and Enobarbus discuss about the manner of countering the approaching enemy. Enobarbus wants Antony to avoid fight in the sea against Octavius. He tells that in Caesar's fleet are men who are well experienced in having fought against Pompey. But Antony's mariners are not a match to those. He also advises Antony to take up the fight by land only, wherein he is invincible. However, Antony insists on fighting by sea. Cleopatra takes his side and declares that her 60 ships, before which Caesar's ships are much inferior, shall join with Antony. What follows is a fierce sea fight. Enobarbus was closely watching the whole scene. He could see all the 60 ships of Cleopatra fly and turn the rudder. Even Antony had to fly. Thus, they lost the war. Seeing that Caesar is the victor, many high-ranking persons who were with Antony up till now defected to the enemy side. And thus Caesar's force became stronger. In Act 3, Scene 11, we see the defeated Antony in the company of his attendants. Antony speaks thus: I am so elated in the world that I have lost my way forever. I have a ship laden with gold. Take that, divide it, fly and make your peace with Caesar. However, the loyalty of his attendants towards him is 100%. They are not ready to shift their loyalties and not ready even to touch the gold offered to them. Now, Antony suspects whether Cleopatra had not started losing her interest in him. Here we see a wearied and weakened Antony, who is feeling fed up in life. He sends an ambassador to meet Caesar. He requests that he may be allowed to live in Egypt. He salutes Caesar. If this request is not granted, he petitions that he be allowed to live as a private man in Athens, cut off from all state affairs. Meanwhile, Cleopatra had acknowledged Caesar's might and greatness. She begged of him to let her descendants continue to reign in the seat of Ptolemies. Caesar's message back to Antony is this: he has no ears to Antony's request. His message to Cleopatra is different. He is ready to consider her request if she is prepared to drive Antony out of Egypt, or she should even kill him then and there. Thereafter, Caesar assigns a diplomatic mission to his follower Theseus. Theseus should go to Cleopatra and use any trick to separate her from Antony. Again, we see the humbled Cleopatra asking Enobarbus to tell who is at fault in their humiliation. Enobarbus, as usual, gives a blunt answer that Antony only is responsible for it. Antony's ambassador reaches back and informs him of the replies given by Caesar. By this time, Enobarbus had become sure that Antony has become almost a beggar, and Caesar, whose fortunes were running high, will not stoop to hear any more petition from the defeated person. Theseus, messenger from Caesar, enters. He greets Cleopatra, to whom Cleopatra answers thus: Caesar is a god and knows what is most right. Most kind messenger, say to great Caesar this in deputation: I kiss his conquering hand. Tell him I am prompt to lay my crown at his feet and then to kneel till from his all-obeying breath I hear the doom of Egypt. Antony and Enobarbus have already discussed about this issue of Cleopatra shifting her loyalties to Caesar. Antony becomes highly emotional. He speaks rashly to Cleopatra. To her face, he tells that she had always been a loose woman. She was not a virgin when he came in contact with her first. Her life was tainted by affairs with Julius Caesar and Pompey. Antony regrets that he had left Fulvia and Octavia, two virtuous women, only to be beguiled by this kind of an ever-fluctuating lady. To Cleopatra, he puts forward his final desire thus: Alack, our terrene moon is now eclipsed, and it portends alone the fall of Antony. At any rate, he wished to spend one more night with Cleopatra in voluptuous luxury. Also, he invited all his sad and sullen captains to be with him and enjoy a drinking party together. At this juncture, Cleopatra announces that it is her birthday. Antony speaks to his followers, charged with emotion. He expresses his intense love and gratitude towards them. Hearing such words, they all go into tears. Enobarbus, the most trusted of Antony's followers, also deserts him and joins Caesar's camp. This news does not enrage Antony. He only wishes good for Enobarbus. A 3 days fight is also remaining, as previously agreed upon by the two parties. Caesar's order to Agrippa is that Antony be taken captive alive. A soldier informs Xenobarbus that Antony has sent him a consignment with loads of treasures, and this wealth has already reached there. Hearing this, the regretful Xenobarbus breaks down. He speaks thus: I am alone the villain of the earth. O Antony, thou mine of bounty, how wouldst thou have paid my better service, when my turpitude thou dost so crown with gold? This blows my heart. In the second day's fight, quite unexpectedly, Antony's forces get the upper hand. Many of Caesar's soldiers had to fly. Antony's man Scarus fought valiantly. Though Scarus was wounded, he could fill up new vigor into the otherwise sinking morale of Antony's side. Cleopatra also joins them to celebrate the victory. Still, one more day's fight is remaining. Total gloom took over Xenobarbus, and he returned to Antony's camp a completely dejected man. There he falls down unconscious. In Act 4, Scene 11, we see the last day's fight. In this encounter, Antony lost completely. He fears that Cleopatra has betrayed him because he saw his soldiers and Caesar's soldiers casting their caps up and drinking together like friends long lost. He feels that Cleopatra, the triple-turned war, has sold him to Caesar, whom he considers only as a novice. Antony is so maddened with anger that he plans to kill Cleopatra. His soliloquy at this stage brings out all the turmoil and commotion in his heart. It is thus: O son, thy uprise shall I see no more. Fortune and Antony part here, even here do we shake hands. All come to this, betrayed I am. Oh, this false soul of Egypt, this grave charm, whose I begged forth my wars and called them home, whose bosom was crowned, my chief friend, like a right gypsy, hath at fast and loose beguiled me to the very heart of loss. Upon this, the terrified Cleopatra, Charmian, and Eros suddenly decide to run away to a pyramid and hide inside it. In her cunningness, she also instructs Mardian to go to Antony and report that she has killed herself, and also say that the last word she spoke was Antony, and also to come back and report how he took it. Then they enter the monument. In Act 4, Scene 14, we see Antony conversing with his follower Eros about how exasperated he is in life. He regrets that he had made these walls for Egypt and the queen, whose heart he thought he had because she had his heart. Now he believes that she has pecked cards with Caesar and false played his glory unto the enemy's triumph. Hearing all this, the good Eros weeps. Thereon, Antony tells him that the only way before him is to put an end to his life then and there. At this point of time, Mardian enters and reports that Cleopatra has committed suicide, and also that the last word she spoke was Antony. This is too much for Antony. He asks Eros to take away his armor. Then he exclaims thus, "The long day's task is done, and we must sleep. The sevenfold shield of Ajax cannot keep the battery from my heart. Oh, cleave my sides, heart, once be stronger than thy continent. Crack thy frail case apace, Eros, apace. I will overtake thee, Cleopatra, and weep for my pardon. So it must be, for now all length is torture. Since the torch is out, lie down and stray no farther." Then Antony requests Eros to kill him. This is a command also, but Eros is not willing. Antony asks him to put color in his cheek. On continued insistence, Eros agrees. But there is a condition. Eros says it thus, "Turn from me then that noble countenance wherein the worship of the whole world lies." Agreeing to it, Antony stands looking in the opposite direction. Thereon Eros draws his sword, but he only kills himself, pronouncing that thus he escapes the sorrow of Antony's death. This put Antony into an extremely complicated situation, about which he spoke thus, "Thrice nobler than myself, thou teachest me, O valiant Eros, what I should and thou could not. My queen and Eros have by their brave instruction got upon me a nobleness in record. But I will be a bridegroom in my death, and run into it as to a lover's bed. Come then, and Eros, thy master dies, thy scholar." Saying this, Antony keeps his dagger perpendicular and falls on it. But some flop happened while falling. So he is not dead, but he is critically wounded. At this point, Antony requests his friends there to make an end of what he had already started, but the gods refuse one after another. Exactly at this moment, Cleopatra's attendant Diomedes enters and informs him that she has sent him to Antony. Antony cannot believe his ears. Upon this, Diomedes clarifies the situation. Thus, locked in her monument, she had a prophesying fear of what had come to pass. For when she saw, you did suspect she had disposed with Caesar, and that your rage would not be purged, she sent you word she was dead. But fearing since how it must work, has sent me to proclaim the truth, and I am come, I dread, too late. To this, Antony replies that it is too late. Thereupon, he requests his guards to carry him in their arms to the place where Cleopatra stays now. Diomedes goes back hurriedly to Cleopatra and reports what all happened. By this time, the guards had arrived near the monument, carrying the injured Antony. Cleopatra is terribly moved. Her maids find it difficult to console her. The last meeting between Cleopatra and Mark Antony is powerfully depicted by Shakespeare here. Please hear in Shakespeare's own verse. Cleopatra, O sun, burn the great spear thou movest in, darkling stand the varying shore of the world. O Antony, 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 help, Charmian, help, Eros, help, help, friends below, let us draw him hither. Antony, I am dying, Egypt, dying. Only I hear importune death awhile, until of many thousand kisses the poor last I lay upon thy lips. Cleopatra, and welcome, welcome, die when thou hast lived, quicken with kissing, had my lips that power, thus would I wear them out. And she kisses him. All the god, heavy sight. Antony, I am dying, Egypt, dying. Give me some wine and let me speak a little. One word, sweet queen of Caesar, seek your honor with safety. Oh, Cleopatra, they don't go together. Antony, a Roman by a Roman, valiantly vanquished. Now my spirit is going, I can no more. Cleopatra, noblest of men, we die? Hast thou no care of me? Shall I abide in this dull world, which in thy absence is no better than a sty? O see my women, the crown of the earth doth melt, my lord. Antony dies. And Cleopatra faints. She falls down. In Act 5, Scene 1, we see how Octavius Caesar receives the news of Antony's death, and also of his designs to appease Cleopatra and thus keep her on his side. Caesar was indeed deeply moved by the explosive news of his rival's death. He exclaims thus, "The breaking up so great a thing should make a greater crack. The round world should have shook lions into civil streets and citizens to their dens. The death of Antony is not a single doom. We could not stall together in the whole world, but yet let me lament with tears as sovereign as the blood of hearts, that thou, my brother, my competitor, in top of all design, my mate in empire, friend and companion in the front of war, the arm of mine own body, and the heart where mine his thoughts did kindle, that our stars unreconcilable should divide our equalness to this." Then Caesar instructs his follower Proculius to go to Cleopatra and inform her thus, "Go and say, we purpose her no shame, for her life in Rome would be eternal in our triumph." In the concluding scene, that is Act 5, Scene 2, we see Cleopatra in utter disillusionment and gloom. She has no more desire to stretch out her life. Proculius enters and informs her of Caesar's goodwill, but she only expresses her dispassion. She is so frustrated that quite unexpectedly she draws out a dagger and tries to stab herself. Proculius intervened and disarmed her promptly. She tells that she is ready to meet Caesar. Cleopatra speaks out her inmost wish thus, "Where art thou, Death? Come hither, come and take a queen worth many babies and beggars." She also adds that she does not recognize anybody in the world other than Antony. Proculius went back to Caesar to inform him of her wish. Cleopatra goes on venting her emotions thus, "His face was as the heavens, and therein stuck a sun and moon, which kept their course and lighted the little zero, the earth. Think you there was or might be such a man as this I dreamt of? Now a flourish is heard. Enter Proculius, Octavius Caesar, and many of his nobles. Instantly Cleopatra kneels in front of Caesar. Caesar speaks thus, "Arise, you shall not kneel. I pray you, rise, rise, Egypt." Cleopatra stands up and pleads that she is innocent. She hands over a paper to him it contains a list of all her possessions and treasures. As per this letter, she is submitting all these to Caesar. Thereon, Caesar speaks thus: "Be cheered, make not your thoughts your presents, no, dear queen, for we intend so to dispose you, as yourself shall give us counsel. Feed and sleep. Our care and pity is so much upon you that we remain your friend, and so aid you." Caesar and his train go out. Anyhow, all these promises of leniency do not cheer up Cleopatra. She is determined on a different course. She has no more wish to exist. She privately instructs Charmian to hurriedly execute what had already been planned. Now, Dolabella, messenger from Caesar, enters. He informs her that Caesar intends his triumphal procession back to Rome through Syria, and also that he intends to send Cleopatra with her children to Rome before this. Cleopatra thinks that in Rome she may be treated as an Egyptian puppet only. She did not like such a thing to happen. Charmian and Eros also agree to end their lives also, along with their mistress. Then Cleopatra gives to Charmian the following instruction: "Go, fetch my best attires. I am again for Cydnus to meet Mark Antony. Sirrah, Eras, go. Now, noble Charmian, we will dispatch indeed. Cydnus is the place where Cleopatra and Antony met first, and she wants to end herself in that very place. At this time, a clown enters. Upon earlier instructions, the clown hands over a basket in which is put the pretty snake of Nile River, which kills with a bite, causing no pain at all. The ladies dress Cleopatra ceremonially, and on her head they put her crown. Then Cleopatra speaks thus: "Cook, methinks I hear Antony call. I see him rouse himself to praise my noble act." She kisses Charmian. Then she kisses Eros. Thereon Eros falls down and she dies. Immediately she applies the asp to her breast. It bites her. These are the parting words spoken by Cleopatra: "As sweet as balm, as soft as air, as gentle, O Antony." She could not complete. Instantly she dies. Charmian also applies the asp and dies then and there. Dolabella now re-enters with further messages from Caesar. and he sees the three dead bodies. That which Caesar tried so vehemently to prevent has really been done. Hurriedly, Caesar also arrives there with all his train and sees this sad spectacle. He learns that the cause of the death of Cleopatra was the bite of the aspic. Thereon, Caesar utters his concluding verse thus: most probable that so she died, for her physician tells me she hath pursued conclusions infinite of easy ways to die. Take up her bed and bear her women from the monument. She shall be buried by her Antony. No grave upon the earth shall clip in it a pair so famous. High events as these strike those that make them, and their story is no less in pity than his glory, which brought them to be lamented. Our army shall in solemn show attend this funeral, and then to Rome. Come, Dolabella, see high order in this great solemnity. Thus ends the variegated, checkered, and voluptuously sumptuous Shakespearean drama called Antony and Cleopatra. While going through it, we may feel enamored by the panoramic show of historical personalities, scenic abundance, and picturing of famous civilizations. The drama encompasses and also cuts through the Greco-Roman, Egyptian, and Mesopotamian civilizations and their cultures. Love in its intensity and universality is a big theme in Antony and Cleopatra. So also is it in Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet in their teens became star-crossed lovers. But their families, the Montagus and the Capulets, had been for long rivals. There was acrimonious hatred between them, some kind of a feud, so to say. Romeo and Juliet belonged to these rival families, and their parents never admitted this love affair, and hence the friction. Eventually, when all ways got closed, both Romeo and Juliet ended their lives. And when their funerals were happening, the Montagus and the Capulets repented. And they decided to end up their animosity and become good friends. For this, Romeo and Juliet had to give up their real lives. Romeo and Juliet is a drama which has remained a favorite with youngsters all over the world. But Antony and Cleopatra is different. It is the poetics and the aesthetics of love, power, splendor, sensuousness, luxuriance, grandeur, rivalry, feud, power, drunkenness, gorgeousness, and magnificence which mark out Antony and Cleopatra as an immortal world classic. Thank you very much.